You know, this life isn't as black and white, all good and bad, right and wrong, as we tend to think. It's complex, and we're all just humans trying to make sense of it. So, if you're wanting more unity and love in this world, and are ready to step into curiosity, then join me, Brynne Erickson, on Middle Ground. And if you're willing, please leave your biases and preconceived outcomes at the door.
Hey, everybody. I am so happy to have my dear friend, Sheree Carlisle, on tonight. And I was trying to think of how to introduce Sheree and what she does. And she just is all things spiritual. And I'm going to let her tell us exactly what she does because I know her from sound baths to life coaching to chakras and cleansing and all the things. So we're going to talk a lot about what Sheree does, but she also has a beautiful story of her journey of faith and becoming that I really want to talk about with her and have her share with everybody. So Sheree, thanks so much for being here. How do you feel about being on the podcast?
Well, I'm so excited. I'm so grateful too for the work that you're doing and how you bring people together of all different walks of life and different faiths. And I'm just so in awe of you all the time. So I'm grateful and feel honored to be here. So thank you.
Thanks, Sheree. Yes, Sheree is one of my first mentors and is a dear friend. So I'm so grateful to have you here with me tonight. Sheree, what's your title? What do you actually do? What do you tell people?
I know it's probably the hardest part about what I do is explaining to people what I do because it's I feel like I'm a jack of all trades. I have so many different modalities that I utilize and that I've trained in and that I've certified in. And I go by several different titles, but the one that's resonating with me the most right now is an intuitive guide. So I have lots of healing modalities, but healer doesn't feel like a super accurate title for me. It's something that I do, but it's not the main piece of what I do. So I'm like an intuitive guide. Every session that you do with me is different. I'm trained in Reiki, the Healer's Blueprint, which is like a motion code. I have a newer modality. It's like a sacred center, like chumpy stones from Peru. I do sound bath healing. So those are just to name a few of the things that I do. I know human design. I know astrology and just so many different variations of things. So it's just fun. As a projector, a 6'2" projector, it's I'm constantly just taking in information and learning things. And I've learned so much about trauma and the nervous system and emotions. And I'm so passionate about guiding people back to themselves, back into their bodies. So many times as women, we disassociate. We're just going through the motions. We're in survival mode. And so we just kind of, in a sense, leave our bodies, you know, a lot, just to get through the motions. And so what I do is I just help guide people back home to themselves, really getting back in their bodies and feeling through their emotions, naming their emotions, feeling them in real time, and working through things. And trauma, there's various levels of trauma, but everyone in a sense has experienced trauma at some point or another in their life. And I have received so many downloads from God about how to assist and help women move through trauma. I'm not just women, but that's generally who I work with. So I say women because that's my audience. That's my niche of who I typically work with. I do have a few male clients that have come and gone, but mainly I work with women. So that's one of the things that I do that I'm so passionate about is just helping women remove blocked or stuck energy, emotions, memories, trauma, as God shows me what to do. So that's kind of a broad answer, but
And Sheree, this isn't something you've when we're going to learn more about your story, but this is something that you've been diving into the past maybe 5, 6-ish years?
5 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Because
I
I
mean,
met not too long after you'd stepped into it. I was kind of stepping into it too.
Yeah, about 6 years, I really started learning emotion code, the healer's blueprint. It's essentially a version of emotion code, but I started with emotion code. My husband was stepping out of the religion we both grew up in. Um, and so we were kind of on this verge of divorce in a sense, and we had gone to Europe, and we were coming home on the plane, and I had packed the emotion code and I wasn't able to sleep on the plane ride home. So I sat and read through it. It was literally the only thing I had. And so I read through half the book and I was like, okay, what are the chances this could save my relationship? You know? And my parents, I'll get to them at some point, but they were such an instrumental piece of who I am and like how I show up in the world. But they were the ones that recommended the book. They had been doing the work themselves with the emotion code. And so I called them when I got home and was like, okay, like, can you help me? Can you help me with this?
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, needless to say, like that was in 2017 and my husband and I are still together in a relationship. And I have since transitioned out of religion too.
Yeah, we're gonna get more into that, but that's kind of the introduction, like a very brief introduction of how you stepped into the world of spirituality and intuitiveness. And before we dive in too much, we're going to probably hear that word intuitive a lot. What does it mean to be intuitive?
Okay. Intuitive is, to me, it's like there's different clair gifts. There's four main ones, like claircognizance is just a knowing of sorts. It's basically how I interact with spirit. But there's four different main modes. Clairsentient is like feeling, like the gut feeling. It's what the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, I feel like they use that term a lot, the feeling of the spirit. So clairsentient. And then there's clairaudient, which is hearing, like you audibly hear, like downloads, spirits speaking to you, God speaking to you. And then clairvoyant, which is seeing, it's your third eye. It's like visions, visionary person. And so those are the ways that spirit interacts. And like everyone has all four of those, but it kind of just depends. Like you can develop them more as you go along. So I've learned to develop all four of them. They're interchangeably now. And so to me, that's what intuition means, is like that I'm communicating with spirit, with God, with
Higher
angels, like
self.
that higher self, right? And so it's just connecting in a different way than maybe how most people see things or were raised to believe.
Okay, perfect. All right, Sheree, let's dive into your story. So, what is spirituality to you?
It's probably better for me to explain
Okay.
about just kind of my upbringing and just sharing some of that side. So I grew up in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I was raised as a member, but I have since stepped away. Like I just essentially didn't go back when the church closed for COVID and that we moved to a new area. And so I just didn't technically go back. And I have nothing against the religion. It just didn't call to me the same way anymore. And maybe part of it was my husband. It was, in a sense, easier in a lot of ways. And so one of the things that I would say is that spirituality for me is separate outside of religion. And even when I was in religion, like I wouldn't have said that I was as spiritual a person as I am now. Like I see God and spirituality is different than I did when I was inside the church and doing all of the things, like checking all the boxes. I was doing all of those things. And so to me, it's just become this personal relationship between me and God. Like there's no middleman. And so it's just communicating with God and angels and Mother Earth and, like spirit guides. And So, like I said, I consider myself like more connected to those things than I ever have before. But like my oldest two kids, they're still involved in the church. My oldest is a senior in high school. He's talking about serving a mission. Like we are all supportive of that. Like
I love that.
I love having those conversations, like spiritual, enriched conversations with my kids
Yes.
and just sharing with them. And like how that came about for me was I was raised in an environment like my dad did a ton of study in different religions. My dad studied tons of different, modalities and different different things. My
Okay.
dad was very much a visionary person, very open-minded. At one point he told me he'd studied, satanic, like
Mm-hmm.
if that is called a religion or a cult or whatever you want to call it. And he shared some interesting things with me. And he was like, I saw the light through the darkness, if that makes sense. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay. So I was raised in an environment to question everything, like literally question the prophet of the church at general conference as he's speaking. I have the gift of discernment. So I hear truth and I know truth and I'm able to like instantly like grasp whether that's true for me, right? Like it's truth
Yes.
for me because truth could be different for everybody, right?
I believe that.
So it's like what's true for me could be different for you. And so like I just continuously ask spirit, is that for me? Is that truth for me? Like am I supposed to know that and take that in and internalize it and that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I was raised in an environment we were invited to question everything. That was a normal part of conversations where it's like, well, this is what I believe, and just being super respectful of other people and their beliefs too. And since I've left religion, and maybe even a little bit before, it was like I read Jay Shetty's book, Think Like a Monk, and I was like, oh, Buddhism is way cool.
Yeah.
Taoism, like that's so cool. It's a practice. And there's so many of those practices that I have included in my life since then, since I've learned about it. And
Uh-huh.
so it's just been fun to dive into and learn different things about different spiritual practices and different religions and those types of things. And so that was just a part of who I became, and a lot of times, like both my parents have passed on and I've had incredible experiences with them since they've passed over. But like even before that, I see my parents as trailblazers, especially my dad being this trailblazer of like really authentically living his truth. Growing up within the church, my dad would say random things because he was very versed in scripture. He was very versed in separate books outside of the scriptures of like the book of Enoch and the book of Jasher and like just different
The
Gnostic
Apocrypha.
gospel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all the Apocrypha and stuff. And he did studies in Hebrew and the different translations, right? So
Mm-hmm.
he's very versed in a lot of things and he would share and people would just kind of look at him. And
Mm-hmm.
I think he went through a lot of disciplinary, like people like complaining to the bishop or, strict president, and my dad going in and arguing his point. And he never had his temple recommend taken away or, because
Yeah.
like, how do you argue with somebody who's so versed in that? And he's just like, this is my truth. I'm just sharing what I believe to be true. And so in a lot of ways, like I feel like my dad was a trailblazer that way. And so
Absolutely.
it's beautiful to be raised in an environment like that. And that's the type of environment that my husband and I have created for our kids to be able to believe what they choose to believe and be able to feel loved unconditionally, regardless of what they choose. Like, yes, we're all going to make mistakes,
Yeah.
and we'll work with it as we go along. So did that answer the question?
Yeah. And I've had like so many questions come up while you were talking. But my first one, I guess, is how did you, I guess, become comfortable
and maybe it was through your parents' example, with this concept that like there isn't just one all truth for everybody, but I can actually have things that are true for me that aren't true for everyone else.
I think that's a process I've kind of learned over the last 5 years too. Yes, I was raised in that environment, but also like having a husband who continuously, I mean, those first few years that he had left the church, like we butt heads really hard a lot. And we both have grown a lot in that process. And at the same time, like every single time I would pray and ask for what do I do? How do I move forward? It was always love. It was always just love. Like, come back to love, like just what Jesus teaches, right? Like, he teaches love everyone as you love yourself, but you can't technically love other people if you don't love yourself. So it really started with me learning to love and trust myself to be able to stand firm and true in my beliefs and who I am and how I show up in the world, and then allow him to do the same. And allow my kids to do the same and allow you to do the same, right? Like, so
Yes.
it's become this beautiful awareness that, you know, even the last time I was sitting in the temple and pondering whether that was the direction I wanted to continue going or whether I was okay stepping away and stepping out of it. And God said, do you really think there's only one way? Do you really think there's only one way in this world? Like that I only created one way back? Interesting. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, right?
So
Oh, I love that. And what was helpful from religion? Is there anything that you've held on to or that served you?
I think just in general, like I still have a belief in Jesus the Christ. Like I still believe in the ideas around a lot of things, including spirituality. I think religion has a place for sure. And I think that if it helps you become a better person, that's beautiful. But if it's causing harm, if it's creating more like guilt and shame and like harm in your life, that it's not for you, you know, and neither is right or wrong. I think that's the other piece that so beautifully I've curated over this last 5 years is like, is there such a thing as good and bad and right and wrong? Or is it all just experience that we're all just living this beautiful life of experience?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's pretty much verbatim what I've concluded as well. And I love that because that's what I tell people too. Like, religion serves me. Like, I really do love being a part of the community, and it's what I'm doing. And that can change at any time, and I'm okay with that. And I can totally see now how religion, when people have real experiences of not wanting to be there and feeling guilty and shame or discomfort or whatever, like those are all real and valid. We don't have to discredit those or explain away what they are. Yeah, it's cool to just let people decide what is actually okay for them. And there isn't a one size fits all when it comes to religion and spirituality and overall connecting, right? With
right.
that higher, whatever it is, that power that you acknowledge, whatever it comes from. I think God is bigger than that and more powerful and more loving and greater and just wants to connect with us in whatever way we will receive him,
Absolutely.
them, whatever it is. So
Exactly. I know. I use like God, source, universe interchangeably.
yes.
Like
Yeah,
it's bigger than us. That's
I think so.
it's what I know.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. I
but
love it.
I do believe that God is continuing to guide me like every step of the way. There's not this disconnect. I truly believe that the only way that we're disconnected from God is our own belief that we are
Yes.
separate. Like every
Yes.
single time I've prayed and then like, okay, like even so, for instance, like I said, I have had experiences with my parents on the other side. And every time I prayed about it, it's like, yeah, we're all just part of this big oneness. Like
Absolutely.
we're individuals, but we're also part of this beautiful oneness. Like we return to oneness, and yet we're this individual, like being, spirit being as well. So it's just been interesting as I've done more deep diving into asking for that answer of like, what does this look like? What is there, like, what does it look like on the other side? Do I believe in reincarnation?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. Is it possible? Maybe. Like,
Yeah.
that's the one that, like, I've seen bits and pieces of different things, but I don't have a clear answer on it. So it's been interesting.
Yeah. There are so many uh, perspectives on what the afterlife could be like. But when I realized the only thing I know for certain is this life that I have right now. Like I can speculate, I can go off of other people's experiences, what they've seen, what they've experienced, but what I know for certain is what's I have right here in front of me. So I'm going to do the best I can to live this life in as much love and abundance and community, because that's important to me, as I possibly can.
Absolutely. And I agree with that. And that's where it's like, is it important for me to know with absolute certainty? No. And that's where I'm like, okay, I'm okay with that answer. So, but every single time there's something I really deeply want to know, like, shows me. I mean, I'm a visionary person, so I see a lot of visions of different things. And so that's the one thing that I've seen is just this fluidity of energy and frequency on the other side. And so it's just like, oh, so it's hard to describe to people. But
Mm-hmm.
so as of right now, like I'm not really looking for my next modality or the next thing that I'm doing. I'm really just focusing right now on embodiment of like the divine feminine and just really actively like working on myself and
Mm,
finding that full embodiment of what I already know to be true until the next thing comes along that really catches my attention or really draws me in. And I'm a mom of 3 kids in
mm-hmm.
3 different phases of life. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm just trying to soak it all in, having a senior in high school. And, in a year from now, he could be serving a mission somewhere around the world. And so just really like taking it all in and just soaking in what God has inspired me right now to do is really just be more focused on my home life. So, because I love learning, it's really
Right.
such a passion of mine and
Mm-hmm.
learning the different things. So, I
I
I
love that.
guess to answer your question, I have so many various beliefs,
Yeah.
but I've gained so much from religion. Like, I have nothing negative to say about my upbringing. Like, I have nothing negative to say about my experience within the church. Yes, I've had several bad experiences, but that doesn't, like, every single person in the church is human, just like I am. So it's like
Yes.
a bishop that may have said some hurtful things, like, he's human. He
Mm-hmm.
makes mistakes. So I have nothing negative or bad to say. There's not one thing specifically that was like, that drove me out of the church. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? It was just like the church shut down for several months. And we moved in the process of that. And I moved away from that support system that I had built, that
Yeah.
community that had been built around me. And I don't know. I just didn't ever feel that pull to go back to that. So,
And yet you found fulfillment outside of organized religion. Go figure. Isn't that interesting?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's because God is so good and so loving and wants to be with
Mm-hmm.
us no matter where we put
Right.
ourselves. So
Right.
awesome.
And
Um, yeah, go ahead.
that's definitely something that I have learned is that unconditional love, right? Because we're raised in a society where love is conditional. Do X, Y, and Z, and then you're loved, or, those types of things. Be this type of person, and then you gain love, right? Like, and I don't think that's intentionally what people do or how they show up,
Yeah.
but that's not God. That's not the universe speaking, because everything comes back to love and just loving unconditionally. And so that's been a huge piece for me in this last couple of years, is just, can you truly learn to love others where they are in whatever capacity they show up? And
Which is hard work.
then, right. And I'm not perfect at it. I still, have guidelines and rules for my own kids and those types of things. And I still get disappointed when they make mistakes and don't follow those things, right?
Right.
But at the same time, just coming back to, can I do my best to show up in that unconditional love? And that's truly what people want in the world, is just to be loved for who they are right
Yeah.
now in this moment.
Yep, I believe it all. I would love to backpedal a little bit. So your husband started questioning religion and going on his own journey, and you guys are still together. What was helpful as you were navigating that for yourself and as a couple?
Again, as my husband's transitioning out of religion, and I'm like scrambling, right? Like that sense of like this, I'm losing this sense of control about how our life is going to look. And like, there's still times where I sit and cry as I'm singing like nursery rhymes, mix of nursery rhyme and primary songs to my 3-year-old, and I'm like, this isn't necessarily the life that I envisioned myself living. Right. But I remember that those desperate moments where I was just praying desperately to God, just like, help me know what to do and how to navigate this. And how I didn't know anyone that was in my same situation. And so it was like this struggle to really like, how do I learn how to do this? Right. And God just literally sending me this warm, head to toe, this is how much I love your husband. I'm showing you just a glimpse of this unconditional love. This is part of his path. This is part of his journey, right? And just every single time our life got really hard, I would go back to that moment where it was like, God just showed me this glimpse. I don't care whether he believes in me or he doesn't. I love him regardless. And so I think even with him leaving, he also helped me to step into fully who I am as well, to be able to embrace who I am. And he went first in some ways of really stepping outside and gaining that authentic happiness that people don't believe exists outside of the church, and
Yeah.
this possibility of like, you don't understand, my family will disown me. And I was like, okay, well, we could prepare for that. Like, your happiness means more to me than theirs, and my happiness means more to me than theirs. So let's prepare for that. And if that happens, which isn't what happened, but like, if that happens, like, we have each other and we have our little family and we'll be okay. And I mean, I'm grateful. My in-laws are currently serving a mission in New Zealand, and they've been supportive, and so they didn't disown us or
Yeah.
any of those things. So, so it's not like anything happened the way that my husband had envisioned that it
Yeah.
would. But yeah, it was difficult when we were in it because I didn't know anyone else that was going through it. But then once we got to the other side where it was like, I was in and he was out, and we're still just navigating, and I'm taking the kids to church and he's staying at home. And then we came up with this agreement where 50% of the time I would go to church, 50% we would go out and do stuff as a family. And so we came to the beautiful agreements, and we've been able to work together and just complete and utter love and respect. That's really what it comes down to, is if I'm seeking outside of myself for validation with him, then I know I'm out of alignment with myself. And then I just come back to, okay, can I just realign with myself and God, turn inward and turn upward? And
Yes.
I'm like,
Yep.
okay, like
Inward
if
and
I
upward.
inward and upward, if I
Mhm.
can turn and really like just be good with myself, then I know my husband will have my back and he will support and love me. And it's the same for the other way around. Can I just love and respect him where he is? And at one point, I had hope that he would at least come back to the idea that God exists. And at one point, he said to me, then you are still actually hoping that I change. And that's not helpful. And I sat with that for a long time. I got
Hmm.
defensive when he first said it. And
Yeah.
I was like, you can't take hope away from me. Like this idea that, and then I sat with it and I was like, and he like, we have these conversations and he said, you think that your way is better than mine. And I like sat there and I was like, well, you're not wrong. I do
Mhm.
think my way is better. Right.
Yeah.
But then as I sat with it, the more that I sat with it, I said, okay, can I see that my way is better for me
Mhm.
and that he is perfectly happy and content where he is
He's
and
right where he needs to be.
right where he needs to be and with exactly what he desires. And then everything changed. Like the minute I was like, okay, I'm okay with that. Like if he never comes back to the idea of God or whatever, that's okay. That's his path, that's his journey. But for him to be that bold and to say that to me, I remember, like I said, I got defensive. But then I sat with it and I was like, that's true. That means that I am wishing that then you would be different than you are. And that's not okay. That's not the type of person I want to show up as. Like, that's not the type of person I want to be. I want to be that unconditionally loving, accepting person. And so I don't know. That's when I feel like a huge shift changed when he finally heard me. I think he overheard me say that to somebody. Maybe it was his parents or something. And I was like, oh, I hope someday he comes back to the idea of God. And
Mm.
then he approached me about it. And I was like, oh, so I
Yeah.
love that we have that kind of
You're
relationship
honest and you communicate.
that we can call each other out like that, that he could
Yeah.
say to me, like, you think your way's better. Yep, I do. But then I saw with it, it's better for me.
Mhm.
And so it is that I find so much comfort and peace for me to believe in a higher power.
Absolutely.
And
He does
he doesn't
not.
need that.
Mhm. I love it. It's good work. Yeah, I think it's important to assume that your partner loves you. They're not out to get you. They're just trying to figure things out, right? And they want to involve you, hopefully. But when we say things that come across as like harsh or defensive or rude or insensitive, we're human. We're not going to say it perfectly and eloquently and sensitively every time. But if we remember that our people are there for us no matter what, even when we show up ugly and mean and defensive, like that's where that grace piece, I think, is essential. That grace, that compassion, that, okay, I hear you. And I don't really love how that was projected at me, but I'm gonna show up in love, right?
Absolutely. Yep. Yep. And we're teammates, right? Like there
Yes.
was so many times I would use the analogy of like, I'm not putting on boxing gloves and stepping in the ring with you. I'm just not gonna do it, you know?
Yeah.
And when you're ready to have a conversation, then we'll have the conversation, but I'm, not stepping into the boxing ring like with gloves on. And yet occasionally when I'm tired and all the like, you know, all
Yeah.
hell breaks loose and it's like, and then I step into the boxing ring and then I was like, huh, interesting. Then my old patterns still show up occasionally. But
Go figure.
it's
Okay.
life.
So good. So now you're in this world of spiritual modalities. You're obsessed. Let's use the word obsessed, shall we? You love it so
True.
much. It's so good. So how did you shift into obviously okay, so you did the code, emotion code first, right? And did
Hmm.
that kind of just catapult you into looking further into this world
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
emotions and such? Tell us about that.
Yeah. So 2020 was like a really difficult year. Not just, I mean, COVID, right? But like we moved 2 weeks before the world shut down. Like we moved into like a small like a small rental till we could figure out what we were going to do, where we were actually going to move. I had lost my dad in June of 2019. I lost a dog with puppies in January of 2020. Um, I lost a baby and like finally miscarried in in February of 2020, right before we moved. We had to be out of our house the last day of February, but we had put an offer on a house anyway. It was just a chaotic mess. And so I pulled back and was like, maybe we just rent for a little bit till we figure out what we want to do. And then the whole world shut down. And I have a very social empathic, meaning she like is very hyper aware of everyone else and their emotions. Like me, I'm very empathic. But she like I was in a heightened state of survival, having just miscarried and packing up my entire house and 12 days and moving and all these things. And then we get to a place that's small and then 2 weeks later, the world shuts down, which means that I don't have any space to myself really to
Yep.
process through my grief and the pain and all of the things that were going on in my life at that time. And um, it was a really difficult time. So I started looking for a emotion code practitioner. And I found this lady, and I had been kind of toying with the idea of getting certified with Dr. Bradley Nelson, who is the author of Emotion Code. But it never felt right to like purchase the course or whatever. And so, um, but I started looking, and my mom happened to have a practitioner that she'd been working with. So I was like, okay, she agreed to see me. She was fine. Like, wasn't that COVID, like, no, I can't see you. She was willing to see me in person. So that's what I did. I went and she introduced me to the Healer's Blueprint. Like she sat with me and she showed me the books, and it was like I'd been struck by lightning. It was like this immediate, this is why this never felt right to you, because this is the direction you need to go. It was not just removing the negative emotion. It was putting back in the positive. It was putting in the, not leaving a void, essentially. So, I mean, it's different. It's a different version of emotion code. It doesn't feel the same, but it has a lot of the same structure, like the same skeleton of sorts. But that's kind of what catapulted me into, okay, I need to do this. This is what God directed me to do. And so that was the first step. And so I've gone through the Healer's Blueprint Academy, you know, 4, maybe 5 times, like, because I love it and I learn something new every time. And you work with different people within that same umbrella of things. And I've done that for multiple times before I decided, okay. And then you and I worked with the same mentor, Robin, and she said, what if you know enough to actually start? And I was like, there's a concept. I don't know, like, but that was what she really helped me focus in on, was like really getting clear on what my goals were and how to move forward with them, because feeling hindered by like the idea that I was short on time, just different things. Like when you lose somebody in a sudden way, like I lost my dad in like, just waking up one day and he was gone. Like in that shock, I was living this life of this year of like fearlessness where I was accomplishing and working through fears, like my fear of heights. I went and hiked Angel's Landing in Zion's National Park and just all these things. And then all of a sudden to have somebody taken away from you like that, that meant so much to you, it changes you. And I really got to a place where I questioned everything I was doing all the time, right? And so having a mentor, like I started working with Robin after my mom died, the month that my mom died, because I was like, I got depressed after my dad died. I mean, true, I lost a dog and a baby, you know, like it was like this they said death comes in threes. But it was like I was moving forward with things and my mom got sick and I helped take care of her. I was like, I can't go back to that. And so I just started working with her, and she's the one that helped me to just decide, what if I know enough to just get started? And so she offered me a job at a time in my life that I needed it. Just kind of like Robin had always encouraged me to gain my own mentorship outside of her space, which I found really beautiful. At first I was a little like, what? Because her mentorship was so pivotal for me, life-changing. But the truth is that I was grateful for that too, because it kept me continuing to grow and expand beyond her space. And so one of the first things I learned was like human design, you know, and human design and astrology kind of work together in a lot of ways based on your birth information and that type of stuff. So yeah, God has always, like, it's interesting because when I pray to ask for that next mentor, the next, you know, I've done inner child work, I've done shadow work. But every single time I've prayed, it's like, I see this flagstaff path, that the next flagstaff stone appears. And it's like this direct, like, this is the person you need to work with. And the funds, the abundance shows up of how to make it happen, whether that's a discount or a scholarship, or, you know, I have a really good month where I earn a lot more money or something like that, you know? And so it was always just the next step always appeared when I was ready. And so it's just been beautiful to watch and witness everything show up as I needed it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as we become more in tune, intuitive, right? It's easier to recognize the next step because you're looking for it. You've been praying for it, meditating on it, journaling about it, asking for it, talking about it. And so you see it and you recognize it, or whether it's in a vision or audibly, like I love the clairs, right? Or it's a person. For me, it's usually people. Like I know who I need to go talk to. I'm learning. And
the question is, how does that show up for you? Do they pop in your head as like, actually you see their face, or you hear, like, you know their name comes to your thoughts? Like,
it's
how does
usually
that show up?
name, like words. It's more words in my head. And then I
Awesome.
just know that that's what I need to do. And I
I
do
love
it,
that.
and it always pans out. Or like I see it on Instagram and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like my next thing. Like that was my last course that I just signed up for. It was kind of funny. I started following her, and then she messaged me back or messaged me like, thanks so much for following. And I thought it was a bot. And so I responded back, and then it replied back, and it was a real person. And they're like, do you want to have a video chat with me? I'm like, sure, I guess. We'll see if this is legit. And then it totally was. And it was definitely the next right thing for me. So it's fun when we can recognize it, because it looks like, to me, that's what life is about, and creating it. It's taking ownership of it, meditating on it, journaling about it, having your goals, and then seeing how all the steps are coming together to help you create what you actually want. And so many people will talk about experiences that they've had, and they're like, oh, after the fact, I look back and I see all the signs. But it's fun to be living where you recognize the signs as they're coming, rather than you get to the end and then you can go back and then recognize them. That's a newer concept for me, and it just lights me up. Like, it's so fun. It's like this adventure all the time.
Mhm.
Like, okay, what's the
Absolutely.
next thing? I'm ready. Help me recognize it. And that's actually how I pray now, is like, okay, I'm ready. This is what I'm thinking. This is what I want to do. If it needs to be different, help me to know. Help me to recognize that for either one, for where I'm headed or where you think I should go. And yeah,
Yeah.
it just lights
It's
me up. But
beautiful.
thanks. And you and Robin and so many other amazing women that I've been able to work with and just have these conversations with are really, really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's fun to be in that space where literally almost every moment of the day you're just guided in one way or another. Like you said, like somebody comes to your mind and it's like this idea of like, oh, I need to reach out to so and so, or send this. I'm listening to a song, send this song to so and so. Or, it's been fun to, from that space of being the vessel that God can work through, because you're listening and you're living it and radiating that love and light to as many people as you possibly can.
Yeah. And I love that anyone can be on that team, whether you're part of organized religion or a practice, or even if you're atheist. Like, I genuinely believe that however this life experience was created, it was created so all of us could succeed and tap
Absolutely.
into as much joy and peace and creation as possible. And we are the ones that create the limitations and the qualifications that it takes to tap into it. And all it is truly just your choice. Like, no, I'm just choosing. I'm choosing to operate this way, to live this way. And like, that agency is pivotal. And I
Yeah.
love in the LDS theology, like, everything is around agency. And yet I think we're kind of going around it in not such an empowering way, but that's okay. We're going to get there. We're going to keep improving and figuring it out. And
People like you that are a part of it can be instrumental in making that happen, right? Because that's how movements start, is through one person and an idea.
yeah.
So keep shining your light and
Thanks.
your truth.
Oh, that's sweet. Yeah. I don't expect like change, or I'm not creating a movement in any way, but your dad kind of resonates with me. Like, this place serves me, but I'm going to show up as me, and I'm going to say my things, and I'm going to share my thoughts and ideas. Take them as you will. But for now, like, being in this space with the other Latter-day Saints is where I want to be. So, but you get me as I am.
I love that
And
for you.
oh, thanks, Sheree. You're so sweet. Okay. I want to talk about the 2 favorite modalities that are most helpful to you that you've found, and
Okay.
why.
That's like asking me which of my children are my favorite. Because they all have such a beautiful place, right? Of like working together. I use each thing as kind of a guidepost, like a blueprint. And so it's like everything has its place. So I would probably say, if I had to pick, human design and astrology kind of go together. It's essentially like where the stars and the planets aligned when you were born, and how that creates different versions of your personality. And so once I found human design, it was like I had been questioning myself my entire life, like, how it's different from other people. And you can relate to this as a projector, like this idea that like I don't think like other people, and the things that, you know, I'm just different. And so it was like, once I found this human design, it was like I dove straight in and straight down that rabbit hole. And like,
Yeah.
it
It's
just,
fun.
yeah, it's so fun. But also it was like, sit and cry. Just like, it's like somebody had given me the key of a puzzle that I had been trying to put pieces together that I didn't know what the picture looked like. And then human design like handed me the key of like the puzzle of what actually the picture is supposed to look like. And then all of a sudden it made sense. And I was like, oh, I can start putting pieces where they go and how that works together with this. And, and it was like, like mind blowing. And then astrology just kind of has done more of that same thing where it's like, the different placements in the different houses and how that plays into the human design aspect as well. And gene keys, right? It's like you could keep expanding. Like there's still so much to learn after 2 years of being in that energy of human design and astrology. Like there's still so much I feel like I could learn, but I have so many good basics that it's like, oh, this is who I am. And it's okay. Again, it's not like I'm putting myself in this box of I'm the 6'2" projector and, everything about that person is me. It's like, no, it's just using it as like, oh, this makes more sense. Like I've been drawn into learning about emotion and trauma and the nervous system responses and that type of stuff because I have a certain placement in the 4th house, which is your home life. And I have the Chiron placement in the 4th house and in Taurus and, and so once I've had an astrology reading where this lady's like, telling me, and I'm like, you literally just described what I do for people is that I read energy, I read emotion, like I see where it's stuck in their bodies. I've done Reiki training, so I work with the chakras, the 7 chakras, and I can just shift and move and see things that the other people can't, And so I was like, oh, I understand now why I was drawn to that, right? Well, I can see it. And so it's like somebody just handed me a blueprint or like a key to a puzzle that was like, it made more sense to me. And then sound healing is my newest baby.
So
And,
fun.
and it's so fun. And I have so many fun instruments and they're like, I mean, you can't see it, but they're like all kind of over here in but, I love it so much. And so just watching people's whole bodies and countenance change as they encounter the sounds, like watching the blockages and those types of things just like dissolve with sound has been so fun and such an interesting like piece for me to like really learn and expand upon. And so that's what I've more been focused on this year was learning it and putting together sound bath healings. And now I'm doing that weekly with a 7 chakra clearing. I work through the chakras. I have the crystal sound bowls with each chakra and I work through each one, the emotions that are typically stored in each one. And I go through and really like help. And because I'm Reiki trained, like I'm watching the energy shift and move within the body as I'm working through the chakras. And so that's been fun. That's the newest thing that I've been doing. And I do a weekly class locally at the Mind, which has been fun. So to get to do that weekly, and I love it so much.
That's so awesome. So, do you have any advice for someone that maybe would love to create a what's the word I'm looking for? Create a job around one of these modalities, but they're hesitant to? What would you say to that?
I would probably say if it's on your heart, that it's there for a reason. If you truly feel in your heart of hearts that's the avenue for you, then I say jump with both feet. God will literally provide. Like, it's so crazy. Like I said, that Flagstaff shows up. It's like having somebody on Facebook post inner child oracle cards, and the lady was local. And you know what I mean? It was just like, what are the freaking chances that I'm working through inner child stuff? This deck appears. I meet with the lady. She becomes my next mentor, like helps me work through shadow work and, just like all these things like transformative work, which I'm never going to be the same. Right. So that's what I would say is like, whatever you believe in, I believe in God. God places it on your heart for a reason. Jump with both feet and figure out the rest, like as you
I
go.
agree. Yep. You have to take the first step or you'll never get started. You just have to
Absolutely.
start talking about it.
Especially if you're a projector, you'll learn all the modalities. I had a list 20 long that was like cranial sacral, foot zoning, and I was like, what if you just start with the one life coaching with emotion code, like the healer's blueprint? What if I just start with that? And that's what I did.
Yeah. Start
And
somewhere or you'll never go anywhere.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep. Exactly.
Oh my gosh. It's so much fun. Yep. I love all of these things. I want to get more into astrology and I think crystals next.
Oh my gosh. Those are two amazing things to learn about. And crystals, you could literally like spend millions of dollars on crystals.
I know.
Like
I love rocks.
I love it so
I've always been drawn to rocks.
Same.
Just outside.
Same.
It's so funny. And
like they sit all around my desk.
Yes. See, you have the pretty rocks. I am talking about like just ones on a hike. But I do love the pretty rocks too. But it's so funny. For some reason, I've just always been so drawn to them. So I'll step into that at some point. Oh, Sheree, you're the best. What do you offer for people that they could maybe reach out to you for your services?
Yeah, absolutely. I specialize a lot in trauma, like I said, and emotion. I have been able to help a lot of people work through their trauma. And it looks different for everybody. So I offer one-on-one sessions. I do sound bath healings. Like you could hire me to like come and put together a group of people. And we can work out like cost and that kind of stuff. I have different places that I can rent for sound healings. Or if you just are like, I would love this experience of a guided meditation, a guided visualization. I write my own visualizations and meditations. I have been in the Elevated Mother for more than a year. I've been writing my own, walking the women through it. But mainly I specialize in one-on-one sessions, and every single session is different. And I have oracle cards. I have crystal grids with rocks and gemstones. And like I said, I've been working with these chumpy stones that are created in from a mountain in Peru. And that's been really fun. And it's each element, but every session's different. So I offer one-on-one sessions. Like I said, I do sound bath healing, the 7 chakra clearing with sound bath in Ogden weekly. I'm hoping to add to that of doing a mom and me sound bath at some point. After the new year, I'm going to present that. I already had presented it to the owners and they're like, yeah, that sounds fun.
Where's that at again?
My Mind and Body Collective. It's downtown Ogden, like in
Utah. Okay.
Yeah, in Utah. So, I'm on social media. I just started a YouTube channel under my name, Sheree Carlisle. And yeah, so I'm really passionate about helping people learn how to feel through their emotions in real time and learn the system and why they do the things that they do, like how that shows up in your life. So,
and it's so empowering because once you better understand your emotions and what they're telling you, like I tell people all the time, emotions are just information.
Yeah, it's just
so you get curious about it and then you can release them and move on. But if we don't,
what you resist persists.
Correct.
So it's like,
if you don't give them attention, it just bottles up and then you explode and nothing gets done.
Or it causes illness in your body, fibromyalgia, so.
stress.
Yeah, I'm really passionate about it. So
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you,
so
Sheree. This has
much.
been a treat. Thank you.
It's been a joy. You are just such a treasure.
You're the best, Sheree. Have a good night.
Okay, you too. Thanks.
Before you go, if this episode resonated with you, or perhaps someone came to mind that you could share it with, if you wouldn't mind sharing, that would be amazing. Or you can leave a review or follow the Middle Ground podcast. All of these things will help the algorithm, because that is a real thing, allow people to find my podcasting community so much easier, and is essential for the growth of this podcast, and I would appreciate it so much. So remember, stay curious, spread love, and I hope you have an amazing day, evening, wherever you are, whatever you are doing.